Alright guys, welcome back to a new AFL Fantasy series for the 2021 season. Really pumped for footy starting. I'm really looking forward towards round one. I think it's Carlton versus Richmond first game, so we're about 80 days off before the season starts. So I'm really looking forward towards the season starting and commencing. And AFL Fantasy has opened up, as we know. Opened up a couple days before Christmas, so I've put together a quick draft team of players that I think will have a promising year and could potentially have a breakout season. I'm not really chasing too many premiums that I feel that have maxed out in price already. So players like Lockie Neal and Max Gawn, I feel like are not must-haves this season. Starting off, I feel that because I feel like you could upgrade them into your team later in the season. And yeah, there's not much money to be made in those type of players because you don't think Lockie Neal's going to go back to back and average another 120. It's very unlikely that he'll be doing that, and same goes with Max Gawn. So chasing a bit of value this year, players that you think will improve the average and that are well underpriced. So mid prices are another one to look at. There's plenty of players that have moved clubs, and position changes are also key. So players like Rory Laird, who's inserted into the midfield, I think he's a really good pick. Jai Caldwell, he's moved to Essendon now and should definitely playing more midfield. And hopefully his time on ground will be up a bit. So those are players to monitor in terms of roles, as they've been inserted into the midfield. So the chances are they're going to score really well. But not enough talking. Let's get into my team for the season. So as we know, we've got 13 million for the salary cap. I've gone pretty heavy on my defence. Jake Lloyd and Lockie Whitfield. It was hard to toss up between these two players, which to choose from. So I'm starting with both. I think Lloyd is more of the consistent option, and Whitfield has more of a ceiling over Lloyd. So they're both great pickups. They're really expensive, and I understand if coaches probably want to look at them as upgrade targets throughout the season. But I think it's hard not to start without one of these two players, just because they're really going to be damaging scorers. They're going to be consistent, and they both have pretty decent ceilings, especially Whitfield. So if you don't start with them, they're going to have high ownership, and you're going to lose a lot of points in early rounds. So that's why we'll probably be starting with both of these two players this season, barring they have no injury or anything like that. But I think they're both great pickups. If I were to go one over the other, it would probably be Lloyd, just because I feel like he's more of a consistent player, although Whitfield does have a better ceiling over Lloyd. So you can toss up and turn between those two players, but I think they're both correct pickups. And then in D3, like I said, we're going pretty heavy. So Rory Laird and Zach Williams, D3 and D4. Both of these players should be playing midfield for their clubs respectively. So we brought them in because their role. And as we know, midfielders, inside mids have a truckload of the ball. They score really well. Their tackle numbers are up, marking numbers up, and the disposals, most importantly, are really high. So we saw Zach Williams for GWS play in midfield a couple seasons ago, and he did really well. He had a really good consistent patch. And Rory Laird, we saw towards the back end of the season how well he was playing in the midfield for Adelaide. So yeah, those two players I think are good pickups. As long as they keep their midfield role, they should be fine throughout the season. And I think they're going to be good scorers. They should definitely average above 100, both of them, as long as they keep that midfield role. Other defenders that I was looking at for premiums, I think it was Witherden and Hayden Young were the other two I was looking at. 10% ownership and 17% ownership. Witherden had a really good season last year, and so did Hayden Young before getting injured. So Hayden Young's probably the cheap mid-pricer you could go at. And Witherden, as we know, he's changed clubs to the West Coast Eagles now, so lots of promising signs for him. He loves the ball. He loves to rack up the footy, so it's good. He's a really good player. I'm not too sure if they'll start with him in their starting lineup, the West Coast Eagles, but he's moved clubs, and if he does start, he would be a pretty decent option to start with, I believe. Jeremy Howe, I'm not too sure if he's recovered from his injury. But yeah, just Hayden Young, Witherden are probably the two other options. There's Doherty there as well, but after Doherty's back end of the season last year, I don't think he's really an option. So those are just the defenders I'm considering. My other two rookies were Gold and Bianco, and then Robertson and Goldsack on the bench. They're just there at the moment to fill in positions. Obviously, during the preseason, we'll see how they go with their fitness tests as well as their pre-matches before the actual round one starts. I think it's called the Marsh Series. I'm not too quite sure. But we'll monitor them during those couple of games that they play, and we'll see which rookies are best for our team. But as I said, the rookies are just there to fill in the positions at the moment. Now going into my midfield, I'm pretty stacked up in my midfield as well as my defense. Starting off with Taylor Adams. Now at 873k, you might think that there's not much money to be made, and I would agree with that. So I'm not too sure whether I will start with Adams or will I start with someone like a Haitley who's got plenty of money to be made. I feel like Adams now with Treloar out of Collingwood, he's definitely going to score better. As we know, he plays really well without Treloar out of the side, so I think he's a good pickup. Although there's not much money to be made in Taylor Adams, he's really expensive at the moment, 873k. Will he improve his average from last season? I'm not too sure what he averaged, but let's take a look. It's 114. I don't think he would improve his average. I think he'll keep it around the 115 mark. But as we know, he had a breakout season last year. Really, really solid start for Taylor Adams. And he continued with his solid form throughout the season. So let's hope with Treloar out of the side, maybe he'll improve his scoring. But yeah, not too much money to be made there. We're just getting him, I think, mainly because Treloar's out of the side, and I feel that he'll be a really consistent player. Well, as half of these premium midfielders, we don't know whether they're going to go above 100 and then have a shit week. So I'm looking for consistency towards the start of the season. So I think that Taylor Adams is a consistent player, and with Treloar out of the side, definitely benefits his scoring. Although saying that, there's not much money to be made in Adams, so he's sort of a nothing pick. Could be more of an upgrade target throughout the season. But we've got them there. We've got him there at M1, so that's fine. Tom Mitchell is M2. I think that Tom Mitchell is a really good player. He's consistent, and if Hawthorn definitely improved their footy this year, he'll definitely improve his average by quite a bit. We've seen what he's done in the past. He's averaged well above 120. I think it's 130, so he's definitely capable. And if Hawthorn start playing some good footy, it will definitely reflect on Tom Mitchell's scoring. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Hawthorn play this season, and I think Tom Mitchell could have another great season. He's been really good for many years. Sam Walsh is probably a unique one. I'm starting with. I think that I really like the way he plays footy. He's always looks to have the ball in his hand. He always looks for the +6, so he's moving around the ground, always looking for that mark to help out his club. And he doesn't tackle as much, although I would say if he does play more midfield, his tackle numbers will go up. We saw last year he didn't play much midfield, he played more all around the ground, I would say. But yeah, he looked really good last season, and he's definitely improving his average every year, so he should average above 100 this season, and I think he's a good starting pick. That's why we've gone with him at the moment. Brad Crouch is last premium midfielder. Well, not really. We got Matt Rowell, but Brad Crouch, new club, well underpriced, 708k, averaged 92 last season. I think he'll average about 105 this season, to be honest, as long as he gets that midfield role. And he should definitely benefit Jack Steele, who is sort of the lone midfielder for St Kilda. He's the one racking up all the disposals, so hopefully Brad Crouch slips into St Kilda really well and racks up a lot of the footy. I think he's a good option. Like Sam Walsh, he loves looking for a mark, and his tackle numbers are also really high, so looking forward to Brad Crouch and how he plays for St Kilda. And then Matty Rowell, it's sort of a no-brainer here. Everyone's starting with him. I think he averaged, what was it, 88? If you take away that game where he scored 0, it was above 100, so yeah, he's a no-brainer, 574k, well underpriced, so everyone will be starting with Matty Rowell. And then we got Phillips, Powell, Valente, Dawkins, and Kemp. Be interesting if any of these guys get a game. Hopefully Valente, Dawkins, and Kemp will get a game. I'm not too sure about Phillips or Powell, but they're all really good picks. And I've gone with these expensive 260k players because you got to have a bit of balance in your team, because you can't just have all 170k midfielders sitting on your ground. So that's why we've gone with those two, just to balance the team. But as I said, the rookies are just there to fill in the positions at the moment. And now you're probably looking at my rucks and thinking, what am I doing here? Not starting with Brody, Grundy, or Gorn. I think Bruce as a second ruck is probably a no-brainer this season. Well underpriced, 377k. Even if he doesn't score as well as Brody, Grundy, and Max Gorn, there's heaps of money to be made, and you don't want to be missing that. So I think that Brayden Bruce is sort of a no-brainer. He should average around 70 as the sole ruck, I would expect. Yeah, but we'll just have to wait and see on pre-season and watch how he plays. And then Riley O'Brien, averaged 108 last season. Don't think he'll improve that average, but I think that he's going to be he's going to be a really good ruckman this season, and he's going to challenge Brody Grundy and Max Gawn for the top 2 spots. So I think he's a really unique pick, and I really like the way he plays. I feel like Grundy last season was really inconsistent. He did have a really good season, Brody Grundy, don't get me wrong, although he was hella inconsistent, and I feel like Riley O'Brien was probably the most consistent ruckman last season, as well as Max Gawn. So Max Gawn or Riley O'Brien, I'm chasing a bit of value in Riley O'Brien, so we're going the cheaper option. I think that Riley O'Brien should score the same around Max Gawn and Brody Grundy, so it should be a decent pick. And then in my forward line, we're starting off with still side bottom. With Trelaw gone, the question upholds who plays midfield. Probably not still side bottom, to be honest. Probably like a Sia or even any new rookies that they have got. Although I think that still side bottom is still a great pick. Averaged 113 last season. He's probably not going to do that again this season. Although if you look at the forward options we've been given this season, there's quite a bit to choose from. Dangerfield, I'm not too sure of because he had a good season last year. Don't get me wrong, but you know he was playing a bit forward, and I don't like when players play up forward. Josh Dunkley was playing as a ruckman, Bulldogs, and he should play midfield now that they've got an actual ruckman. Although I'm not too sure with the Bulldogs what's going on there. Phillips is also another good option, but it's a bit risky for me. So, and Dusty Martin is a great player, but I'm not really looking at him at the moment. So still side bottom's the one that stands out to me out of all these players. So we're selecting him. Caldwell as our F2. I think promising signs moving to Essendon. Should slot into the inside midfield role for Essendon alongside with Merritt and Shields, so should be fine. Franklin, if he plays round 1, he'll probably be a certain starter. 377k, heaps of money to be made. So he's a value pick. Although his scoring's not going to be great at all. There's definitely a bit of value in him. And then Hollands, Cockatoo, and McRae, they're rookies at the moment, and Robertson and Burgoyne, as I said, just more rookies, and Cox. So those are rookies just filling in the positions at the moment, but that's how my team's looking at the moment. I think it's well balanced. My forward line's probably lacking some premium options. My defense has probably gone a bit too much, but my midfield's looking solid, I would say. And I'm happy with the 2 ruck combos I'm going with at the moment. So that's how my team's shaping up at the moment. If you guys do wish to join a league, I've created a AFL Fantasy League. So the code is displayed on the screen right there. It's TX26NFA7. So make sure to join if you're keen. But yeah, that basically rounds off the video. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys sometime in January.